Auburn has fired Hugh Freeze, bringing the total number of FBS coaches fired by November 1st, I guess November 2nd, to 12, which is a wildly high number. Talk about why it didn't work for Hugh Freeze and Auburn and what it says about this coaching cycle that so many coaches are getting fired in the middle of this season and so many other programs are looking to reset. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If you're into that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question in the comments below. Did you expect Hugh Freeze to get fired after Auburn lost to Kentucky in what was a low-scoring and horrendous affair by the Tigers, who went out there with Ashton Daniels, and it didn't look any better, and it wasn't feeling like it was going to get any better for Auburn? I thought perhaps they might hold on to this for a little bit longer, but given that his buyout is relatively low, considering what the buyouts we've seen from the university, from Penn State University and Louisiana State University, say nothing of Billy Napier at Florida, $15 million to send him packing and to get started anew with whatever the Auburn experience will be in 2026. It will not be with Hugh Freeze. Now, the difference between Penn State, James Franklin, LSU, and Brian Kelly is that many expected this to be Hugh Freeze's last year at Auburn if it went the way that it has gone, and it has not been great for Auburn fans. And this is more in keeping with what we expect in college football. If you are bad at your job, that is winning football games, the famous Bill Parcells quote of "you are what your record says you are," then you're going to get sent packing, but to the tune of millions of dollars on the way out. Now, caveat to this always is you have to try to go get another job. You're contractually obligated to try to do that while they're paying you this buyout money. The thought there being that you're going to get another job before they pay you the whole $15 million, or it's going to be offset by the people that are going to hire you next, right? Depending on how the language is gone. And we've gone from a record buyout, I believe, of like $21 million to Gus Malzahn at Auburn, to 76 to get Jimbo Fisher up out of Texas A&M, to about 50 to get James Franklin out of Penn State, to about 53 to get Brian Kelly out of LSU. And the total number, the number that we have reached for the buyout is $182 million across those 11 coaches. And now we're talking about Auburn, Arkansas, Oklahoma State, $15 million there, about 9-ish for Arkansas, Sam Pittman, Billy Napier. The number escapes me just now, but my goodness, man, the more this keeps going, you might actually see a Dabo Swinney added to this. I dare Clemson to fire Dabo Swinney, because Dabo Swinney to LSU just sounds too good to be true to me. That fits. And now you're back to doing exactly what you're trying to do. Auburn didn't try to negotiate a different buyout for Hugh Freeze, this according to Brandon Marcello over at CBS Sports, meaning that the university was going to owe him every bit of that $15.4 million in his contract. And, you know, it might be a while before we see him coaching again, given Hugh Freeze's background, what was going on at Ole Miss, how he kind of got rehabilitated at Liberty, and then fought his way back to the SEC. And he's wanted to be a member of the SEC as a head coach for a very long time. It's why when people talk about Lane Kiffin going to Penn State, I laugh, because the man's either going to Florida, LSU, or he's staying right where he is. I just don't see it going any other way for him. On the flip side, you're getting to see what it looks like if you bad at your job, which is one of the reasons I kind of enjoy Dan Lennon getting out there saying, not only do I want to be at Oregon, I'm going to be at Oregon until such a time as I stop winning football games and they fire me, right? Like, he understands the game that he is in. Dabo Swinney said he's going to show up to work on Monday unless Graham Neff gives him a call and fires him. They're getting to understand this. It ain't really in their control anymore. You can't get up here and talk in front of media and basically stuck for your job. There's always somebody with enough money to hand to an athletic director, or the athletic director himself, to say, get up out of here. What I find fascinating about this moment is just where the money's coming from. For instance, at Oklahoma State, which is a place that I did not think had enough money to fire Mike Gundy, Chad Weiberg, the athletic director, said he went into their general operating budget to fire Mike Gundy. Wow. That's like going into your checking account to buy the house. You know what I mean? Like, that's a power move if you got it like that. And Oklahoma State wanted to waste no time because they understand the climate that they're in. the television contracts are coming up in about 4 or 5 years for many of the Power Four, which means that realignment is probably going to happen, which invites a history lesson, right? Why are you seeing the coaches get fired like this? It has things to do with revenue sharing. It has things to do with name, image, likeness. Top of the list is winning, though. Winning is the reason you get to be a head coach in the first place. Winning is how you get to stay a head coach. And if you stop winning, they will fire you. Give it time. They always will. You rarely get to go out on your terms, even if you have been a really great coach for a long time. Nick Saban, last of the guys that really got to go out on his terms, right? And he saw the writing on the wall, said, I don't want to do this into my 70s with the sport being what it is. But how do we get to a place where we have Power Four and not a Power Five? And how do we get to a place where we even got power conferences? And how do we get to a place where the Big 12 sort of doesn't even look like what it was built to be in 1995. The SEC has taken on teams that are traditional Big 8 teams or even Big 12 teams. The ACC has taken on parts of the Big East. You've seen the Big 10 go cross-country to places like Rutgers in New Jersey, Piscataway, to L.A., to Seattle, to Eugene, Oregon. So what had happened was the NCAA had a shall we say, stranglehold on television rights in the 60s and 70s for football games on television. And football games on television were worth a lot of money to the NCAA and to the two programs that got to play on television. And it used to be a very small pool of teams that got picked to play on television, right? This is how Penn State became a big deal. Also, Joe Paterno was winning, so that happens to help you, right? That's how you get on television. Oklahoma, same difference. Nebraska, same difference. Alabama, the same difference. USC when they were good. Ohio State when they were good. I can keep going, right? But it's really, we're talking about 10, 12 teams. Well, you would be shocked to know that the rest of the NCAA didn't think this was fair, including the big ones like Oklahoma, Georgia, Alabama, so forth. And they thought that the NCAA should find a way to be more fair in how they pick the games, and they should have some say in where they get to play and who they get to play on. So what the NCAA came up with was Division I and Division 1A, saying in the Division 1A pool, we're going to have, hey, if we pick you, you're going to make a lot of money. If you don't get picked, you might not make anything. In the Division 1A, the double A, right, Division AA, Division 1 AA, what it was, they said, we're going to put a pool of money over here that everybody gets paid out of, whether you play on television or not. A lot of teams took the check. A lot of teams said, no, we will bide our time and wait because it's worth more for us to play on television than it is for us to take this sum that you're offering other schools. And it really went the way you thought. Smaller schools went to go get the check. Bigger schools gambled because they had enough money to gamble with. Well, about 1984, a case makes it through the Supreme Court that is featuring Oklahoma and Georgia versus the NCAA, where they successfully sued for the opportunity to make their own deals with television networks and really get this NCAA out of the way, which takes the NCAA from the governing body that many people think that it is today and puts it into the maid service that it's been acting as for about 50 years. It doesn't have anything to say about what football is doing. It has lots to say about what the men's basketball tournament is doing, and that's the thing it still governs and makes a lot of its money from. But football is controlled by the conferences for which the television networks help them form. Okay, so about that time, Chuck Ninus, who was one of the real architects of college football on television, was even an interim Big 12 commissioner there for a little bit toward the end, had the idea that Oklahoma, Nebraska should form a conference that includes Texas, Texas A&M, and others, so that they could guarantee that these programs would play each other on television, which would bigger ratings, which would bring in more revenue, which, you know, you could sell to more people. So Oklahoma, Nebraska in the Big 8, and Texas, Texas A&M, and Southwest Conference, among others, joined to create what is the Big 12. This is about the time Arkansas leads the Southwest Conference and joins the SEC, among others, right? So you have that going on. You get Florida State, ACC, and then you had the Big East that was still a football conference for a little bit. But as the television money continues to get bigger and some programs are outperforming others, you're seeing the television networks get into cahoots with the commissioner who is overseeing the league rights and working on behalf of the league's interests to create even bigger games, right? So you are getting your pregame your kickoff games, right? That feel like bowl games between two programs that you wouldn't necessarily see unless you saw in a bowl game. We're taking the bowl game philosophy of trying to pit teams that would not traditionally play each other during the regular season into what is a really cool clash of cultures and programs. As we continue to see that proliferate and get bigger, we also went to the BCS from the Bowl Alliance. We went to the college football playoff. I'm speeding up here, but I think you can keep up. This is at a time when Texas and USC also decided that they might want to leave, right? They might want to do something else. And this is when, I mean, goodness me, Larry Scott decided he wanted to try to expand the Pac-12, which would end up being the Pac-12's doom. He raided the Big 12, among others, to get Colorado, Utah, eventually from the Mountain West. Wanted to get Texas, couldn't quite get Texas. Wanted to get Oklahoma, couldn't quite get Oklahoma. But they got a little bit bigger, and their ambition outgrew the money they could bring in. So the Pac-12 needed to step back, eventually get signed over to George Kliavkoff, who made the stupid deal not to make a deal. Decided not to take Apple's money or anybody else's money, and was left without anything to show his members, and his members bolted. So you got Utah and Colorado going to the Big 12. You got USC, Oregon, Washington, UCLA going to the Big 10, and the dissolution of that. But now that you've seen, say, the American become a bigger deal in the group of six, and even the Sun Belt hold its own, and you've seen the reformation of the Pac-12, which I'm calling state conference because it's all a bunch of state schools that used to be Mountain West schools or even Sun Belt schools. And you've seen the SEC take in Oklahoma and Texas to get even bigger. And you've also seen the big money stay at the top. This brings us back to Auburn and Hugh Freeze. You're at a moment when you've seen Indiana being the number 2 team in the country. You've seen Boise State make the college football playoff. You have seen programs that are not traditionally good, Southern Methodist, make the college football playoff for you, and you're getting tired of it, and you're starting to get on your nerves. So now you are willing to risk the $15.4 million or $50 million for James Franklin, or $53 million for Brian Kelly, so that you have a place to show a little bit later on that you're doing your part for this conference. Now, the SEC is a little bit different. It's more about pride within the conference, and it's more about the constituents, the fans of those programs feeling down, because Vanderbilt got to be a member of this conference for damn near 100 years without being good, right? If they want you in, they'll keep you in. And that's the thing. The same thing works with getting jobs. Have people like you, be on time, be good at your job. Alabama ain't never going nowhere because they're on time, they're good at the job, people like them. Just work that way. Texas, people like them. Sometimes they're good at their job, they're on time. You know, these things work for you. I think when you're talking about an Oklahoma State, or you're talking about a Kansas, or you're talking about a mid-tier Power 4 program, you really do need to be looking at the tea leaves and going, are we going to have a spot here, or could we trade up? Because that's what Colorado was able to do in hiring Deion Sanders. They traded up from the Pac-12 to the Big 12 and could have been left without a parachute, maybe having to join the Pac-12 conference in its present form, Washington State and Oregon State, if not. It's a big overarching thing that I wanted to get into, and we'll do a bigger story, but this is bigger than just Hugh Freeze getting fired. It's about trying to position the program for the future to come.